All right, I'm going to try this again. I think Teddy Atlas said that he requested the invite, and I have to accept that. Of course, I don't see that right now. So now I do see other people joining. So, Teddy, if that's the case, do that one more time. I'm going to give this one more shot. And if I can't figure it out today, then I'll spend some time with folks who know what they're doing and do this often and figure out a way to get this done. But right now, I know you said you sent an invite. Let's see. Let's see now. I actually said, it says waiting for Teddy Atlas. I think I figured this out. I think it's going to work. Waiting for Teddy Atlas. Back here on the very first ever Instagram live show, coming to you from my apartment here on the Upper West Side in New York City, just ahead of the big Mike Tyson special later on tonight. I've got Teddy Atlas. There he is. You're sideways.
All right, that one.
Stay straight.
All right,
There
here
you
I
go.
am. Sid,
Hey,
what?
Teddy.
It'd be. I'm telling you, I'm not a scientist. I mean, I'm glad I found you, somebody who's worse than me at doing technology. I mean, I had a flip phone until a year ago. So, doing this for you, you must be a good friend because I'm telling you, and not too many people do this. So you must be a pioneer of sorts because not too many people, from what I'm told, do it on Instagram. They usually do it on FaceTime or something like I've been doing for ESPN. I was on ESPN Live in Sports Center this morning. I'm going to be on again tonight. And we were on FaceTime. It was not at all as complicated as Sid Rosenberg. I mean, are you kidding me?
I know.
I mean, I feel like, I was trying to do what I wound up on the cooking channel. If you want a good recipe for pork chops with hot peppers, later on, call me. Call me.
Funny.
I got a good one.
Listen,
good one.
I'm with you, Teddy. I was confused too, but we got this thing going. Now, I did see you on ESPN earlier today. I know that tonight they're going to run Mike Tyson's 10 most famous knockouts and Mike Tyson's 10 most famous fights. You were great. You're always great, by the way, Teddy. I got to tell you this, though, before we get to Mike Tyson, and I mean this, the best event that I go to every year, and I go to tons of events every year, the best event I go to every year is always in November around Thanksgiving at the Garden Inn Hotel in Staten Island. It's yours, the Theodore Atlas Foundation. You bring up a ton of great athletes and celebrities and actors. You raise a ton of money for a great cause. And my fear now, Teddy, is that with this COVID-19 out there, that we're not going to have the best event of the year coming this November. Have you thought about that? What's the plan just in case?
Yeah, thank you, Sid. Thank you for being part of it and helping us raise money to help all the people that we help and for being there with us. And Bernie too. And you guys always talk about it on your radio show, which has a great audience. And there's no reason why it wouldn't have a great audience. You're two authentic guys. You are two New York guys and guys that that tell it the straight way. And that's so important, and you don't get enough of that nowadays, especially with this political world that we live in.
Yeah.
But we had a board meeting the other night. We were talking about this. We might have to go to Zoom and do some kind of auction, and we might have to do. We don't know yet. We haven't confirmed what we're going to do yet. We have to see what the rules are. We have to see how many people we can put in a room. We normally get 1,000 people. We're not going to be able to do that. We would have to cut it down to 500. Is that going to be, worthy from a cost, from a financial standpoint, and raising the money we need to raise to help these people? Well, that makes sense. We have to figure all that out. And at the end of the day, we might have to go another way. We might have to go, like I said, with a Zoom where we get celebrities together to do an auction. And I have to call on you guys again to be there for me and for the cause, to be able to get together and raise money so we can continue to help people. That's the main thing. So I don't know yet. I know one thing. I ain't freaking doing it on Instagram. I know that. You know what? It'll be on something else. But
Okay, fair enough. But I will help you. I will help you. And Bernie will help you too. And it is a great event. It's a great cause. And I'm always so proud. In fact, 2 years ago, you bestowed upon us the big award, which was a really, really big deal. And we'll never forget that. So thank you, Teddy. Now, I did see you earlier today on ESPN. Big night for Mike Tyson coming up. Now, for people that don't know, this is an amazing story. Like, these folks have no idea how lucky they are to get Sid Rosenberg and Teddy Atlas on this night. I read your book. You're my friend for 25 years. You started training Mike Tyson when he was just 12 years old. You were actually Mike Tyson's first ever trainer. And that lasted about 3 years. And then at the age of 15...
Maybe a little more, but yes.
But then at about the age of 15, Mike Tyson did something that was really inappropriate and really bad. And if the story is true, if legend is true, Teddy, you actually took a 38 caliber pistol and put it right to the head of Mike Tyson. Oh, that's true, right?
Yeah, I didn't do it because I was having a bad day, Sid.
Well, tell everybody the story about your 11-year-old niece or something that he actually did something to that caused you to do that.
Yeah, actually, sister-in-law.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. She was 11 years old. And then he was about 16. And it's not quite what it comes off at as a 16-year-old. He was 210 pounds. He had won 2 national titles already. He had knocked everybody out in the first round. This was not just your normal timid 16-year-old that, was just learning how to shave. And, it's a serious thing. And my sister-in-law was 11 years old, and you shouldn't treat people that way. You don't have a right to violate people. And he grabbed her and, told her what he was going to do to her. And I listen, I don't condone my actions. I would do it again. But under those circumstances, I have to be honest. If you're not honest, you really don't have anything in your life. If you don't have your integrity and your word.
Yep.
And I would. But I still say it. I don't care if it sounds conflictive. I don't condone it. But I don't condone somebody taking away somebody's dignity. And I don't condone that. I don't condone somebody ripping somebody's their pride out of their body, and maybe in some ways changing their life forever. I think there's things that are more important than money, more important than even maybe more important than my own freedom, maybe more important than the rest of my life.
Yeah.
To be able to protect your family and to be able to just know that you can live with yourself. Know that you're doing what you feel you need to do to protect a family member in this particular case.
Yeah.
And to know that you can live with yourself as a person, no matter what the life after that turns out to be. It might be a life that I'm in jail.
Well, listen.
No, it might have been.
I know, but no one's
no
one's going to knock you for doing what you did. I mean, and look, I know you know Mike Tyson to this day, and I've always liked Mike. Mike is going to be 54 years old in June. He and I have a very good relationship. He went through the same issues as I did, addiction, drugs, all that stuff. We get along nicely. But the story with you, that's not the last I heard about that. I did read Rudy Gonzalez's book, his former limo driver. And in that book, he talks about Mike Tyson winning fights in Las Vegas, and they would actually bring young girls back to his hotel room, and he would be on one bed with the girl, and Don King would be on the other bed watching him just to make sure stuff didn't get out of control. Now, that may be just urban legend, maybe Rudy Gonzalez trying to sell books, but that's out there too.
I mean, listen, who knows? I can only speak to the truth that I know, which, is something that involves me. I can't speak to something that involves these other people that I wasn't there, and what the possible reason for them to say these things. I know that, I know at the end of the day that I had to deal with this myself, and finally talked, outwardly about it. But it took a long time before I did talk about it in a public forum that I did.
How are you guys today? What's your relationship with Mike Tyson today?
We don't have one. I mean, some years, again, you got to be, you got to talk in a frank way. You can't talk in a convenient way and say, oh, yeah, maybe we're good. No, you got to say what it is, or keep your freaking mouth shut. and don't say nothing. If you can't say things that are candid and that are straight. Some years ago, I don't remember how many years ago, but it's got to be, maybe it's 10 already. Maybe it's a little less than that. But I was doing a ESPN boxing, the commentating, which I did for 20 years, and I was up in Verona, New York, at the Turning Stone Casino, on the air live, doing a show, and Mike Tyson Promotions was the promoter that night, but in name, because they paid him to use his name. So he was the promoter for a few shows. It didn't last that long. I don't know if his promotional deal even lasted a year. But at that time, he was one of the new promoters. So he was the promoter of name and record that night. And I'm doing the show. I'm doing my job. I'm sitting ringside, calling fights. And next thing you know, my producer is in my headset saying, "Hey, Teddy, I hate to interrupt you, but Mike Tyson's standing behind you." And
Oh, wow.
and I'm live on the air, calling a fight. And I'm trying to be a professional, keeping my concentration. But at the same time, I'm saying, okay, for what? And he said they want permission to come up to you, and he wants to apologize to you.
Wow.
So, you know what? A lot of people said to me, "You think he was sincere? You think it was this? It was that?" I said, "Look, if a man is going to tell me that he's apologizing for something this serious, this many years later, look, the form of doing it, that's a little, you could question it.
Right.
You could question it. We're talking honest. You could question it, but it's not like he had a million places he could see me. This was convenient. I was there. So we'll put it off on that. That it made sense because he knew I'd be there.
Okay.
And when he came up, again, if a man's going to say, even though he did what he did, if he's going to put his hand out and say, "Teddy, I'm sorry. Will you shake my hand?" I think about it for a few seconds before I do it. It's important to me. But at the end of the day, I did. And he gave me a hug. He hugged me. It was live on TV, of course.
Wow.
It was what I just described.
Yeah.
And then and then there was talk. The most sincerest thing was the next day he saw me as I was leaving the hotel, and he came over to me. And I hope my memory is correct, but he put his arm around me, and he said, I'd like to talk. Yeah, and you know that side of Mike. Mike can be very gentle.
Oh, love that side.
Listen, he could be very gentle, childlike, and that's not in a disparaging way. I'm not saying it in that way. I'm saying it in a way that he can come across very genuine, and you believe it, you feel, and you believe the need. You believe the need that he does need to have feelings back, that someone care. You believe, and because you feel it, you know it. It can't.
No,
be
he is.
fake.
I agree. He's very sincere like that. Again, my experience has been terrific.
And we never. So we exchanged phone numbers, I believe.
Yeah.
And
that was it.
We might have talked one time when I had asked him to come to my foundation dinner. And I got to tell you, I push finger to him when he's at fault, obviously. Maybe I'm at fault. Maybe I got to push a finger this way because he felt like a little bit like, okay, Teddy, but could we get to see each other before that? Like almost like I was asking him for a favor too fast. Like it was all like it's only because you could help me with the dinner. And it was because for me, I have no shyness with that because I have to have there's kids out there with cancer that we're paying for their treatment program when it's not the right treatment program, or they need a wheelchair, or they need a handicapped ramp, and their insurance doesn't pay for it. We're taking care of it. I need to have celebrities there to help me raise money. So yeah, I thought I didn't have a problem asking him to do that. That would make sense. But on his side, on his human side, he could feel like, well, after all these years, I apologize to you. We talked for 2 seconds, and you're asking me to come to this. Can't we first get to know each other again? Can't we give each other a hug maybe once more before you ask me to? So maybe he was feeling that, and he probably was. And we never, that was it.
That was it, right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I think you did what you had to do. Talking here, of course, Sid Rosenberg with the great Teddy Atlas, Hall of Fame boxing trainer. Later on tonight, ESPN, 7 o'clock, they're going to show 10 of Mike Tyson's greatest knockouts and greatest fights. I saw Teddy on ESPN earlier today. I've always been a Tyson fan, covered all his fights for HBO. I was there for, you name it, Francois Botha and Orlin Norris. I mean, some of the all-time greats. But looking back at his career, 86, he beats Berbick. 87, he beats Smith and Tucker. So he becomes the first boxer ever to unify all 3 titles, right? WBC, WBA, and IBF. He was that good. And then 88, of course, he has that epic fight against Michael Spinks. I don't know the answer to this, Teddy Atlas. You're the pro. I'm not. But if I was to ask you the most impressive first-round knockout of the 40-plus that Mike Tyson had to be 1988 in that much-anticipated bout against Michael Spinks.
Yeah, no doubt. First of all, you know, the funny thing is, just being consistent with us not being pros at this. I want to show, it's kind of like doing a David Copperfield magic trick. I want to show that there's nothing in my hands, that this is real.
Right.
this, me and Sid, we're really this bad. We're really this incompetent when it comes to this.
Yeah.
But we can talk to you from here, okay? From here. And that we can do. And that we're able to do. And for that, I will tell you, that has to be the most impressive.
Yeah.
And he deserves more credit than he gets. I'll tell you why. Because everybody poo-pooed it because it was Michael Spinks, the dead man walking. It was the man going to the guillotine, waiting for his head to be placed on a block. Everyone saw it that way. Was it that way? I don't know. But with the result, it fit the script. So everybody forgot before that a lot of people, number one, thought Spinks would win. Number two, Spinks was the undefeated light heavyweight champ for years, one of the great light heavyweights of all time. Number three, he beat Larry Holmes. He kept Larry Holmes from beating Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record. So there was a lot more to Spinks than we wound up seeing when 91 seconds went by and we saw him on the floor. There was a lot more before that. Tyson took care of that. That just didn't happen.
No.
Tyson took care.
But there were some people, I will say this though, Teddy, when you look back at that punch that he knocked Michael Spinks down, look, we come to know at the end of Mike's career, when he took on really good boxers, guys like Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, he was outclassed, quite frankly. When he took on guys not that good, he won. And there was this conception.
Spinks was good.
Spinks was good. But the conception was, as good as Spinks was, as soon as he walked in that ring, he knew he was going to lose that fight. And the first good shot Tyson landed, he was going to fall.
Sid, we don't know that. Well, it turned out that if we want to think that way, then we were made to believe we were right because it played out that way. But we don't know that. All we know is it's because of what Tyson did. If Tyson wasn't as good as he was, maybe Spinks lands that Spinks jinx.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. Tyson, and I've criticized the crap out of him when I think it was right to criticize the crap out of him. And I will stand up for him when I think it's right to stand up for him. That night, Tyson was as good as any heavyweight ever. How's that? And
that's fair.
And I'm talking about Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali. I'm not saying he's as good career-wise as them. He's not. He's not. But for that night, that man in that ring, mentally, psychologically, technically, skill-wise, attitude, everything, Supreme confidence. One time, the great Cus D'Amato, my mentor, said, Teddy, I've only seen two men ever with supreme confidence, Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. That means that when they got in the ring, they believed that they could not lose. They could not lose. That night, Tyson possessed that. It's called owning the moment. It's called what we've been watching for the last 2 months while everybody's been exiled to their homes. Everybody's been doing the right thing, self-quarantine, and we've been watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. What have we seen? We've seen great athleticism, but we've seen a guy mentally better than everyone. We've seen a guy who knew how to own the moment, knew how that his great ability, Michael Jordan, was to be able to focus on a level that nobody else was and own that moment, control that moment. That moment was his. Tyson did that night. I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he did it any other night, but that night, let me tell you, he pressed him. He pressed him. He took charge right away. He was obviously being the boss. He was obviously knowing that would put him on his back foot and that would keep him from landing the right hand, and it would intimidate him. And he also did it with intellect. He went in there when he saw Spinks against the ropes. He saw his head wasn't moving. What did he do? He came in, he landed a left uppercut. Then he goes over and he finds an opening for the right hand to the body. That's being calm. That's seizing the moment. That's controlling the moment. That's seeing everything. There's no chaos. There's nothing but calm. Very few people get to that elite Zen level, if you want to throw a Phil Jackson thing, since we're talking about Michael Jordan. And he went over there, caught him in the body, drops him. Then what does he do? He gets up. He gets the 8 count, Spinks, obviously. Tyson walks to him cavalier, like relaxed, like nothing. But he knew he was under control. He knew that Spinks had one chance. He was desperate. He was hurt. And he would throw the right hand. Not 2 punches, just the right hand. So he goes in there, and just at the right second, he sees the right hand coming. Whoop! He makes it miss. Bang! He counters with the right hand. He knew that was going to happen. He knew that was going to happen. That man was the complete package of what you want in a heavyweight champ that night. Now, there were nights when, quite frankly, it wasn't so much that the better boxer beat him. Quite frankly, and here's the negative side, but that somebody stood up to him.
Right.
Somebody
the bully.
stood up.
The bully. Somebody stood up to the bully. Right.
Someone stood up to him, and he didn't have the wherewithal. You want to use a tough word? I've used it before. It's tough. But he didn't have the character. Yeah. He didn't have that to be able to stand up when he got tested in that way. When he had to overcome something, he came up short. When that moment came to overcome something, to deal with that pressure, he came in second. And you could make an argument that happened this many times in his career. This many times.
Yeah, but you know what? It did happen that many times, Teddy. Talking to Teddy Atlas, 1 or 2 more will let you run. Teddy's going to go back to ESPN tonight before the big Mike Tyson special. I'm not talking about Buster Douglas in 91 or those awful losses to Danny Williams and Kevin McBride, the end of his career, but specifically the 2 losses to Evander Holyfield, especially 97, when he resorts to biting the freaking guy's ear off. And then 2002, when I went to Tennessee and watched Lennox Lewis just beat the shit out of him. I mean, those 3 fights specifically, the 2 Holyfield fights and the Lewis fights, that right there says to me, I can't put Mike Tyson in the top 5, even 7 heavyweight champs of all time. I can't do it.
You know, you're right. But you could throw in Buster Douglas. Give him his due. Give that man his due. You know why? Buster Douglas had been a guy that people said the worst thing you can say about a fighter, Sid. You know what they said? They called him a dog. Now, nowadays in sports, especially in football, my son is the assistant director of scouting for the Oakland Raiders. Now, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders. Now it's a compliment. You got dog in you. Wow, that man's got dog in him. But back in the days with boxing, it was bad. It was mean that you're a dog in a bad way, that you would quit. And people had said in the fight with Tony Tucker, quite frankly, that Buster Douglas had all the essentials to be a champion. Big, good boxer, good skills, good technique, power, everything, except this, the ticker.
Yep.
Well, on that night, something happened before him that hurt him a lot more than could ever hurt him in the ring. He lost his mother, Buster Douglas, and he went in that ring that night to win that fight for his mother. It's not Hollywood. It's real. It's real life. And on that night, he said, I can't get hurt by this guy. I already got hurt. This guy can't hurt me. I'm standing up to him. He might beat me, but he's going to beat me. He's actually going to beat me. I ain't going to give it to him tonight. And he went in there, and he was as good as anyone that night, Buster Douglas.
No, he was
Let
great.
me tell you.
Let me
tell you. So he stood up to Tyson, and Tyson wasn't able to deal with that. Now, you could say that he was with different trainers. You could say in Japan he wasn't training right. But let me tell you, he was able to land that uppercut late in the fight and almost pull it out. He still had power. He still had stamina.
Yeah.
He still had something left. So Buster Douglas deserves credit for that. But the rest of them, you're right. Holyfield was, again, for lack of a better word, he was too much man for him that much.
Too much.
You know, I mean, real. And he behaved the way that we want our fighters, our heroes to behave. You know what Holyfield did? When he got his ear bit off and everything, like, what the frick's going on? Like, the guy just bit my ear off. And then Mills Lane, the great Mills Lane, said to him, look, I'm going to disqualify him. And they finally settled everything down. I don't know, enough's not said about this. Holyfield said to his corner, because his corner told him, appropriately, looking out for him. They said, look, we're going to get him disqualified. The guy just bit your ear off. He goes, no, you're not. Put my freaking mouthpiece back. Wow. I'm going to knock this guy's ass out. I'm going to knock him out. Put my mouthpiece back. That's what beat him. That's what beat him. You know, the best way, the fairest way, I think, from my point of view, doesn't make me right. It just means 45 years in this business. It's what I believe, okay? And Tyson was a meteor. Meteors are beautiful. Sid, how many have you seen? You haven't seen too many. They don't come around that often.
Nope.
They're beautiful. They light up the sky. They burn bright, but they eventually explode and they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't last. They don't have the ability to last. Whatever you want to call that. You know what Joe Louis is? You know what Muhammad Ali is? You know what Rocky Marciano is? You know what? I even throw Evander Holyfield in there. Smaller guy, but he deserves it. You know what they are? They're planets.
Right. They stick around forever. Right. No, you're right. It's a great analogy. Yes, it's a great. So I would ask you this then. On the way out here, Teddy Atlas again back on ESPN tonight before the big Mike Tyson special. You'll see all those great knockouts.
But let me say one thing. Can I
Sure.
interrupt you?
Sure.
Having said all that, again, the other side of me, the alternate current of me, where having said all that, let me say it loud and clear. For all you haters out there that are ready with your knives and your pitchforks because you're a fanatical fan of Tyson and you want to go nuts, I don't care. First of all, I don't even read the internet. You can see I could barely do this. So you ain't getting to me. You're not getting to me. So it's okay. All right? But having said all that, Tyson is one of the greatest punchers of all time in the heavyweight division. I'm not even... Wait, one more. Tyson is like Mickey Mantle. He could punch from either side of the plate. He is. There's very few heavyweight champions. There's guys, even today, Wilder, what a puncher with the right hand. Just with the right hand. Ernie Shavers, right hand. Unbelievable. Matt Spam, you go back. Right hand. Unbelievable. Ernie Shavers, I said it. So, but Tyson, either side of the plate could knock you dead. Either side. And the speed, the quickness. Yeah. There has not been that combination of power either side of the plate, speed and quickness from a heavyweight, maybe ever. I mean, he was like a miniature, he was like a big size Manny Pacquiao. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Pacquiao was incredible with speed and power. Tyson was like a large Pacquiao. That doesn't happen.
Well, then let's talk about this, because you're right about that with Mike Tyson. He was that. And that does beg the question now. I actually saw you, Teddy Atlas, last week say something nice about the UFC, some MMA fighter. You were going crazy over the guy.
Yeah.
And of course, I work with Bernard. He's a big UFC MMA guy. I'm a boxing guy. But those era you're talking about, the 70s with Ali and Norton and Shavers and Frazier and Foreman and even up to Mike Tyson. No one really bought into the Klitschko era. Nobody's buying into the heavyweights right now. We're still removed from Mayweather and Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya. So the question, and it's a big one, this is your livelihood. You're great at it, but who's the next great one? Who can we look forward to in boxing in any weight class that can say, hey, the sport is back?
It's a great question. It's an amateur that's out there somewhere that hasn't made the scene yet. We used to get all the great fighters. You got to remember something to the answer to this question. Whether it's Joe Frazier, whether it's George Foreman, all great fighters. Whether it's Muhammad Ali, they were all gold medalists from the Olympics. They all had that in common. But Mike Tyson almost went to Olympics. He lost to Henry Tillman in the Olympic trials because he outboxed him, because it's a different point system. It's not about power, and it's only 3 rounds. Of course, in the pros, Tyson knocked Tillman out. Different world. But that's where the great ones come from, usually. The amateurs, because you get the experience. I mean, you get 200, 250 fights. Guess what? You better know how to fight after 200, 250 fights. Costamato used to say, Teddy Atlas, if you don't know how to fight after 200 fights, you should go sell Italian ices on the corner. I mean, so that's where the next great one. The problem is we're not doing a real good job with our Olympic teams right now, with our amateur program. We're not. But that's where it'll probably come from. Right now, the best guy, the full package, whether you like it or not, other side of the pond, baby. Fury.
Tyson Fury.
Himself. Yes, sir.
What about this guy? Well, what about Lomachenko? Is he a guy that we should...
That's not heavyweight. Now you're talking about lightweight.
Right.
Lightweight, Lomachenko, I have #1 in the world. I have Crawford, Terrence Crawford's right below. I got Canelo right there. I mean, you could flip-flop them. I wouldn't argue with you. It's like an ice cream. You like, what do you like? You like cherry vanilla? You like vanilla? You like chocolate? You like sprinkles? I'm not going to argue. It's all ice cream. It's all good. All of those guys are great. Lomachenko, for me, is the best because his technique is like magnificent. It's unbelievable. His mindset, undentable. And Crawford's too. But I'm just talking about him right now.
Yeah.
His mindset, unbelievable. This is a guy like Tiger Woods, whose father took him when he came out of the womb and said, you're going to be a world champion, but you're going to be a great fighter. And he started the program to make that happen. He started to develop him to do one thing, to be a great fighter. And he's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And he had 400 amateur fights and 1 loss. That's not too bad. That's not too damn bad. But the father, just like Tiger Woods' father, it was almost like a laboratory experiment. I'm going to take this kid and I'm going to make him the greatest golfer. I'm going to make him the greatest fighter in the world. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Same thing with Richard Williams. He did the same thing with his 2 daughters, Serena and Venus, and they both went on to win championships in tennis.
Exactly.
Right, same thing. Well, listen, you're beautiful. I love you. You're probably the nicest person I know. I'm all too happy to help you guys, along with Bernard, in November. It's a wonderful event.
Please.
I love watching you on TV. You're great on ESPN. I'm going to watch you again tonight. I'm going to watch Mike Tyson event. And thank you for those 45 years of making boxing more interesting than it really is, because you're very interesting.
Listen, Sid, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for going on your radio show, you and Bernie, telling the truth that you believe for the right reasons, whether it's right or wrong, that you believe for the right reasons, not because of an agenda, not because of an influence, because of what you believe in. And one other thing, thank you for being man enough to overcome. We all have things to overcome. We all do. Thank you for overcoming it. Thank you for teaching us a lesson that we can overcome things. We can get to where we need to get if we want to enough. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That actually means a lot to me, Teddy. Thank you so much. We will talk about your event in November, whether it's on Zoom, wherever it is. We're going to help you out and watch on ESPN tonight, pal. I love you. Thank you so much, the great Teddy Atlas.
Love you too.
All right, pal. See you later. Thank you. And there it is, folks. Teddy Atlas with Sid Rosenberg. We'll see you next week right back here on Instagram Live.